Durham, welcome. This is Sights on the City, where we curate your city. We're here today with Moses Ochola and Joshua Gunn. We're going to talk about Durham and Black Wall Street, but specifically an event called Black Market.
Moses, myself, Derek Beasley, Crystal Taylor, and Janelle Henry are coming together as Black August, a collective, to host the first Black Market here in Durham at the Durham Arts Council on November 27th. It's an event designed to highlight Black entrepreneurs, Black small businesses, and encourage recirculation of the dollar directly in the Durham community, and specifically the Black community in Durham.
We were like just a logical distance for people to stop and stay. So, you know, everybody from like Thelonious Monk playing the Armory to like a much more modern era, like you're saying, the Palace in the 70s and 80s, being right here on Black Wall Street, to like some of those other clubs that, you know, now the Vault being where 7th Street Station was back in the day. Let me introduce these guys, by the way. We're here on Sights on the City. This is Joshua Gunn and Moses Ochola, a couple of awesome dudes who are here to tell us about both their history and their story and their Durham connections to Paris Street and Black Wall Street, and an event they have coming up called Black Market. So I guess maybe you could just finish a little bit with that story of the Palace and what used to happen down here in the 80s. The buildings were owned by, and tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, so my parents moved out here probably in '88 and started a club that was basically geared towards bringing international music to Durham. But along with themselves, they were partners with a whole bunch of Black businesses that were on Paris Street even at the 80s and early 90s. Eventually moved to Broad Street, where we own the Palace International right now, and now an event space below that, the Vault.
The Vault, yeah, everybody's talking about the Vault. And I guess that's kind of where we want to start drawing the connection, is between this historical legacy of what was on Paris Street, you know, as far back as the 70s and 80s and even further, and what you guys are up to now. How are you guys connected?
So Moses and I are friends, really.
That's how all of our Durham stories start, from the heart.
We've known each other. I've known Moses since high school, and you know, we both left Durham, came back to Durham, and you know, being a hip hop artist from Durham, I've always kind of spoke about Durham in my music and represented Durham in multiple ways. Whereas Moses is a business owner in Durham, so he's kind of seen this renaissance or this change here in Durham. So we kind of started brainstorming about.
Right, and so you guys are on the ground level together, you know, dealing with stuff that was important to your parents, that was important to every generation, about how you're going to live, make your art, make your money, you know, raise children, whatever it is you want to be in this world. And I guess you came together, I mean, you've been friends, but you came together officially around an event called Black August, logically enough, in August, a few months ago. Tell people a little bit about what that was.
Yeah, so we started talking about what types of events we could do, and we came up with the idea to do Black August in the park. Black August is an actual commemoration of Black freedom fighters and revolutionary movements. A lot of them happen in August. There's a lot of historic moments for the Black people that happened in August. So to commemorate that, we decided to do Black August in the park as our first event, along with Janelle Henry, Crystal Taylor, and Derek Beasley.
Right.
And it was really just an idea for us to get together and celebrate just kind of being Black and being happy and being and loving.
How'd you get the word out, and what'd you find?
We really just used social media, and it was amazing because we started this Facebook group, and we didn't really know how people would respond to it, and I'd say 99% of the response was positive. Like, people were super excited, and next thing we know, we have over 1,000 people in Central Park in Durham just hanging out, listening to music. So
feeling really love and community and getting down with
awesome.
That's awesome. So where's it going from here? What's this next step that we're telling people about that's happening, the Black Market? Moses, you want to do a little on that?
Yeah, I'll tell a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And we know Jay Cardinal's behind this, Janelle, right? And a bunch of people supporting.
Jay Cardinal, the Underground as well. So the Black Market essentially is basically bringing Black entrepreneurs together in the city as a way to not only support Black entrepreneurs, but also to encourage entrepreneurship generally. As Durham is changing, we're making sure that they're getting their voice heard, and that we're also trying to keep the Black dollar in the community.
myself with Sustainable Durham,
Okay.
which is an organization that supports local business. And the psychology is when you spend money at a chain, 90% of it leaves the local area.
Yep.
And when you spend money at a local business, 70 or 80 or 90% of it stays in the local area. And that's transformative for the economy and people's lives.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you guys are on this message. How can people get involved? Where do they find you? What's the plan?
They can find us, our Facebook page, of course, for the Black Market is the easiest way to get information. Social media is so powerful.
Right,
They can
right.
follow the Black Market. They can follow Black August NC, or email us at blackaugustnc@gmail.
The plan is, though, what date does it happen? What do we want people
Yeah.
to do?
Good point. So what we want people to do, we talked a little bit about local spending and focusing on supporting local entrepreneurship. Our specific focus is for the Black community because while all communities in the U.S. spend money with chains at a high rate, Black folks spend at an even higher rate. The Black dollar stays in the Black community shorter than any other community in the United States, and that's problematic for us because if we don't support our own businesses, there's lots of economic ramifications from that. So our focus for the Black Market is for us, instead of on Black Friday going to Best Buy or big box stores and taking your money out of the community, want to encourage support for Black entrepreneurs and Black-owned businesses so that the Black dollar can begin to circulate within our own communities, just as other communities in the United States do, because it's not necessarily about a separatist mindset, but it's about building up home first. You know?
Right, absolutely. And it's, I mean, on a certain level, you see this kind of tragedy or psychology of like, I got to get what's cheapest, and what's cheapest fuels things like what Michelle Obama's talking about with the obesity epidemic, right?
Yeah.
You know, we have this long-term psychology built around sugar, and it's just like race to the bottom, hurts your health, hurts your heart, hurts your lifespan, you know, and I think all of these things are ultimately interconnected. I was having some thoughts the other day on Halloween, and so many of the kids trick-or-treating have Walmart bags, you know, and you're just thinking like, man, where else could you have gone shopping for your costume, or how could you have homemade it up in whatever way, you know? And
Or
I think-
supported a local costume designer, or you know, went to the scrap exchange and got some fabric and made it.
Exactly. Or a local artist. I mean, goodness knows we know people who can paint and make art. And, you know, there's so many ways that you could have gone about it. So I love the idea that you're working on. What's is there an educational component, or like I know you and I have sat on a panel before that Moses and Jay Cardinal have organized. It was at the Vault about 1,000 words on the future of Durham, where we sat with Lisa Sorg and Katie DeCanto. And you know, there's a lot of people. I know you're a thinker. I know both you guys are thinkers from our long-term relationship. You know, is there an educational component? How do we help people get latched onto this idea? Because I mean, we want to start with the kids and the families and where people are shopping. And
yeah, absolutely. I think you know, there's always an educational component when you start talking about Black Wall Street and the history of Durham and Paris
see you
Street.
wearing the shirt.
yeah, representing. Shout out to Runaway. And you know, I think Black Wall Street has become this kind of like this fantasy thing, right? You know, you talk about giant enterprises like North Carolina Mutual and Mechanics and Farmers Bank, but what's forgotten is that Black Wall Street was mostly a collective of very small businesses on Paris Street. And I think it's more of a psychological shift, like you said, rather than the knee-jerk reaction being to go to Walmart. You know, just think about how you can spend that money in your community. And so we definitely will spend a lot of time educating people who come about the history of Paris Street, the history of Durham, but we really want to focus on the future of Durham because that's what's so important.
Awesome. I love that psychology. I feel like that's a place where a lot of messages in Durham come together. You know, the collaborative psychology we have, the kind of your win is my win, smaller over larger. How do we actually live in the space? How do we make it affordable? So I'm stoked that we're all on this tip together. You guys have other shout outs, stories we should tell from this street. I know we're going to walk down the street together and do a little bit of talking, and I think it is important to recognize, I know the larger story that does get told is like Mechanics and Farmers was the largest African American bank. North Carolina Mutual was the largest African American insurer in the country.
It was actually, at the time, it was the largest African American business in the country.
Right.
Period.
I mean, that's huge for Durham. I mean, in the uptake, we're talking about what kind of jazz musicians came here and what kind of culture we had. And people always hear that story, you know, of Hayti being demolished. But I feel like you rarely hear it in microcosmos, where you hear about individual businesses.
That's a very big part of Black Wall Street was and why it existed was because of the small businesses, which a lot of times are it's forgotten about.
Yeah, their narrative is just lost.
Yeah.
Like,
At some point, Haytime could stand alone by itself with all the small businesses that were there. Everything from the lumber that was being used to build the houses that were being built by the consultants and the builders. So I think that, I mean, in every city, but particularly Durham from the 1900s to now, I think that small business narrative, which is what essentially that economy is built on, right? Is what not only is imperative, but it's also what we're still trying to support, the smaller guys.
right.
I mean, that's the most important part. I think that's the engine for true economic revolution or economic
Equality.
Yeah,
You know, to go
it's-
from 99% to 1%, we got to get out of the big box store, right?
We have to, because I mean, while they do employ lots of people, they're not employing them at fair rates. They're not recirculating that dollar back into the community, not giving them good health care. Whereas you've got small businesses, I mean, even in Durham alone, places like Coco Cinnamon.
Living wage,
They pay a living wage to every one of their baristas there. They offer health benefits. I mean, that's incredible and then you compare that to a place like Starbucks that barely pays people $8 an hour to
Right.
sell you a $5 coffee. So
Where the investors may be, you know, Soviet oligarchs or Russian oligarchs, for all we know, because you can buy stocks in
straight
Starbucks,
up.
whoever you are,
Yeah,
right?
It's true,
You know,
it's true. And you know, while we want to focus on local businesses, we also want to highlight black-owned businesses in Durham because they're kind of evaporating at a really quick pace downtown. So you know, we're missing Blue Coffee now.
Right.
Horizon moved to Northgate. We're just losing a lot of these great businesses. And
yeah, the long-term legacy is suddenly again changing with this psychology of, oh, the market is the ultimate rate. We just set the price based on what's the highest thing something can afford. I mean, there was a restaurant down in 118, a soul food restaurant.
Yeah,
where,
118 got sold.
Yeah, gone, like in, out, gone really quickly. And I mean, we love some of the places that are going. Chet Miller, shout out to a locally owned business that's going into Parish Street, woman-owned business, Jennings Brody of Parker and Otis. I mean, I guess maybe that's what we should do. This is a great conversation, and I feel like we've hit a lot of the highlights. Thanks for watching. We do sites on the city. We curate your city. We're stoked to have Moses and Josh on and tell this story. Yeah, totally. Let's walk down the street and talk some more, man. This is great. Yeah,